Hello, beautiful person. So happy to be here with you again. And I am still talking about this book, which is still reversed because I still don't know how to flip my iPhone screen. If anybody can tell me, I would really appreciate it. Mindset by Carol Dweck. And I'm now in chapter 7, talking about parents, teachers, and coaches. Where do mindsets come from? That is the name of the chapter. And I'm only going to talk about parents tonight because it's a lot of material and I don't have a lot of time for this. So I just wanted to tell you a few things about what Dr. Dweck says, how we as parents can give our children a good mindset, a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. And I want to start by reading you just a paragraph, which is kind of scary because it really brings home what kind of responsibility we have. She says, every word and action can send a message. It tells children or students or athletes how to think about themselves. It can be a fixed mindset message that says, you have permanent traits and I'm judging them. Or it can be a growth mindset message that says, you are a developing person and I am committed to your development. So, yeah, by the way, I'm just reading this not directly from the book, but from this Google Doc that I made with my cliff notes from the book. So if you would like to have this access to this Google Doc so that you can see these notes and not have to plow through the book yourself, just drop me a message and I'll be happy to send it to you. Anyway, you can send there. She starts by talking about success and the kind of messages that people send their children. They say things like, you learned that so quickly, you're so smart. Or look at that drawing, is he the next Picasso or what? Or you're so brilliant, you got an A without even studying. That one's painful. I know that my kids and I kind of floated through high school without doing a lick of work. And it really came back to bite us in the butt when we came to university because we hadn't learned how to work. So yeah, that kind of praise can be really, really insidious. And parents, she says, parents think this is boosting self-esteem, but this is what the kids hear. If I don't learn something quickly, I'm not smart. I shouldn't try drawing anything hard or he'll see I'm no Picasso. I better quit studying or they won't think I'm brilliant. Thankfully, I don't think I ever prevented my kids from studying, but once they found something to be actually a challenge, then they did actually get their butts in gear and study, so thank God for that. But it's really, really easy to praise people, your kids or other people, for being brilliant, and then they become really attached to this. That's the whole idea of the fixed mindset. They think that they have to defend this image of themselves as being brilliant, and then if they actually have to work at something, then that means they're not brilliant anymore. They're still brilliant. They just have to work like normal people. So she did a bunch of experiments with hundreds of children, and she made it clear, praising children's intelligence harms their motivation and it harms their performance. What a scary thought. She says, parents think they can hand children permanent confidence like a gift by praising their brains and talent. It doesn't work, and in fact has the opposite effect. It makes children doubt themselves as soon as anything is hard or anything goes wrong. If parents want to give their children a gift, the best thing is to teach them to love challenges, be intrigued by mistakes, enjoy effort, seek new strategies, and keep on learning. That way their children don't have to be slaves of praise. They will have a lifelong way to build and repair their own confidence. This reminds me years ago when one of my sons was a shofar blower. So this is like a ram's horn. It's this big thing. And he, for one of our congregations at the high holidays, and he blew. And it's hard work. It's really hard to blow it well. And he's very good at it. But he still has to work at it. It's still hard. And he said to me, this is hard. And I said to him, we can do hard things. And he went on and he blew. And I didn't even think about it. I just said it. And then afterwards, one of the other congregants was saying to me how wonderful she thought that was. And I was like, what else am I going to say? He needs to blow. We can't have him not blowing right now. So, but she says, does this mean that we can't praise our children enthusiastically when they do something great? Not at all. Just avoid certain kinds of praise. Praise that judges their intelligence or talent. So basically, if you're saying things like, you're so smart, you're so brilliant, then it doesn't help them grow. So she suggests this sort of praise. Praise that you really studied for your test and your improvement shows it. You read the material over several times, you outlined it, and you tested yourself on it. It really worked. And then she has a few other examples. It's like, so many beautiful colors in your picture. Tell me about it. Things like that. And then she says, what about a student who worked hard and didn't do well? So again, you can say, everyone learns in a different way. Let's keep trying to find the way that works for you. Don't let them give up. And she says the same applies to teachers. When you say to children, wow, you did that so quickly, or look, you didn't make any mistakes, we're telling them that what we prize are speed and perfection. And I see this in adults as well. If they can't do something perfectly the first time, they just beat themselves up and quit. And it's so sad. It's interesting. It's like Dr. Dweck says that when she meets a student who does something perfectly and quickly, she says to them, whoops, I guess that was too easy. I apologize for wasting your time. Let's do something you can really learn from. I totally love that. And messages about failure. She tells a story of a 9-year-old who was good at gymnastics and really enjoyed it and so on. And she went to her first competition and she thought she was going to win a ribbon, at least one. And then she found out that she didn't actually win any ribbons because she did quite well, but the other girls were better. They'd been doing it longer and they'd been practicing more. And so she gives suggestions of what possibilities of what her parents could say. Like she says, tell her you thought she was the best. She says, well, that's insincere because you know she wasn't the best. Tell her she was robbed of a ribbon that was rightfully hers. Well, that's putting the blame on others when the problem was her performance. Reassure her that gymnastics is not that important. So basically devalue something that you can't do perfectly off the bat. Not a good way to do this. Tell her she has ability and will surely win next time. And she says this is the most dangerous message of all. If she didn't win this meet, why would she win the next one? Unless she's willing, to put in the work. And then number 5 is tell her she didn't deserve to win this time. And she says that seems hard-hearted, to say it a little more gently, but basically her father told her that she needs to work harder if she wants to win. If she just wants to do gymnastics for fun, that's totally fine. But if she wants to win competitions, she has to put in the work. And the story continues that she did take that to heart. She put in way more effort, really working on the things that she was weaker at, and lo and behold, she did win several ribbons. So it's a matter of just, you have to think before you praise. That can be the hardest thing of all for parents. And then she goes on to talk about constructive criticism. Like, is it full of judgment, so it's not really constructive, or is it actually meant to help the child fix something or do a better job? So you've got to be really careful when you're doing what you think is constructive criticism. Oh, hi Gail, nice to see you. So kids with a fixed mindset feel that they get constant messages of judgment from their parents. Kids with a growth mindset think their parents are just trying to encourage learning and better study habits. So you really need to watch your words and make sure that you're not painting a picture for your child that puts them in a box of perfection, and that they think that if they're struggling with something, that means you're not going to value them anymore. That's really a big deal. Then she goes on to talk about university students, and she asked them what the ideal student was. And the fixed mindset students said that the ideal student had natural ability and talent. And they were asked if they could, if they actually were this ideal student, and they were just completely demoralized because they had no path to reach that ideal student. If they weren't born with natural ability and talent, then that's it. They were doomed forever. Whereas the growth-minded students said things like an ideal student values knowledge for its own sake as well as its instrumental uses and hopes to make a contribution to society. And when they were asked if they were that ideal student, well, they were working towards it. It looked like something that they could achieve. Whereas for a student with a fixed mindset, there was this ideal picture of this ideal student, which is what they thought their parents wanted. That's the other thing. They thought that their parents wouldn't value them if they weren't this ideal student. How terrible is that? So she says, when parents give their children a fixed mindset ideal, they're asking them to fit the mold of the brilliant, talented child or be deemed unworthy. There is no room for error and no room for the child's individuality. And she tells several terrible stories about parents who insisted that their child go to a certain school because they wanted them to go to Harvard. And the kid didn't want to go to Harvard, but their parents just made them really miserable if they didn't go to Harvard. And then she says, when parents help their children construct growth-minded ideals, they're giving them something they can strive for. So you can have standards, you can have ideals, and you can encourage your child to live up to these ideals, but just make sure that it's something that they can grow into if they want to. That's the other thing. If you're trying to force them to be someone that they're not, that's not going to work out very well. Anyway, that's all I have time for tonight. I will continue with this chapter tomorrow, and she talks about teachers and coaches. And I found this chapter about parents to be quite enlightening. So anyway, that's all I have time for tonight, so I will wrap it up. Thank you for watching. If you would like access to this Google Doc with my Cliff Notes from this really, really interesting book, drop me a message. I'll be happy to send them to you. So have a great evening. Remember, I love you. Talk to you again soon. Bye.